The NBA world is turned upside down as the Mavericks come out of left field to send franchise player Luka Doncic to the Lakers in exchange for future Hall of Famer Anthony Davis in a trade nobody saw coming. The big game is finally here as this year's Super Bowl features a rematch for the second straight year in a grudge match between the Saquon Barkley-led Eagles and the Chiefs dynasty, who are looking to become the first three-peat champion in NFL history. The Lady Longhorns take care of business and maintain their impressive winning streak after a win over in-state rival Texas A&M in a Lone Star showdown that was very one-sided. Men's basketball drops a close one in Oxford but bounces back in Baton Rouge in a dominant victory over LSU, where the offense scored a whopping 89 points, led behind Trey Johnson's 18. All this and more when we return to College Press Box. Good evening and welcome back to College Press Box in the spring 2025 semester. I'm Max Dagley, hosting alongside Campbell Choate. Before we get started, we want to remind you that College Press Box is brought to you by Cap Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between. Plan your ride at this weekend's game at capmetro.org. The basketball world was stunned when the Dallas Mavericks shipped their beloved superstar to Hollywood in an all-time blockbuster trade that puts Luka Doncic in a Laker jersey and Anthony Davis in a Maverick jersey. For more, let's turn it over to disgruntled Mavericks fan Ayan Masud for his signature Unhooked segment.
Thanks, Max. And the last 12 months for Dallas sports has been almost impossible to live through. I want to take you through my life as a Dallas native. In Victory Park, right outside of the Dirk statue, lies a restaurant called Hero. The date is January 14th, 2024, and the 12-6 Dallas Cowboys are favored by a mile. Hours later, I walk out of Hero with my cousins dead silent. Dak had thrown 2 picks, and our defense let Jordan Love, who at this point in his NFL career was kind of just a prepubescent NFL quarterback, they let him turn into a grown man. I walked by the Dirk statue and just thought, at least we have Luka Doncic. But months later, wannabe Kobe Bryant and Deuce Tatum ended up being plastered everywhere as NBA champs. Luka did have Dallas, but not anymore. On Twitter the other day, I saw people asking for Dallas fans to be allowed to grieve, and they really were doing that. It was fast and furious all day, and Charlie Puth was bumping. Loads of people were outside gunning that this was one of the worst trades in NBA history. Some people believe in divine intervention, and I do too. When Trae Young was dealt to the Hawks, that really was divine intervention. And the Mavs messed with that amazingly by trading Luka Doncic to the NBA Lakers. Statistically speaking, Luka has been putting up offensive production similar to top 25 players of all time. He is young and filled with competitive nature. Y'all saw him dice up Rudy Gobert many times and then tell him he can't guard him. That's the spirit you need for your team, and now it's gone. Luka was 19 years old when he came to Dallas. Not too many people, younger or older, have been on this show. Luka had pride in Dallas. His reaction was everything. He posted a message grieving his own trade on Instagram, and the reports have been astounding. Sources say that Luka's weight played an underlying role in this trade. The Mavs front office allegedly worked this trade in the dark and talked to no other suitors. This is one of the most incompetent things that the Mavs front office could have done. We talk so much about untouchables in the NBA. In the 2010s, it really was Steph. And for some others, Luka was untouchable of this decade. And now, Dallas has 3 good bigs. Anthony Davis is going to be elite at all three levels. And they do have Gafford and Lively, who were a respectable duo, but that's what really allowed Luka and Kyrie to be one of the best offensive duos last season. This reminds me of an awful lot of how the Nets went through so much to get Kyrie, KD, and Harden to work together and be on the floor, but in retrospect, that was really for nothing. The Mavs are really left with mediocrity now in a way, and I don't think that they're going to be anything less than mediocrity, because if you think about it, last season, the Mavs acquired PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, and they settled in well and had an amazing 2024 run. It was nothing but spectacular. Lively now remains the best young talent on this team, but he's been hurt and isn't even expected back until mid-April. This has simply just been outrageous, but I don't want to focus on that. This is about a kid who came to Dallas to follow Dirk. I think Luka understood this, and this was the role he played. He was committed to the city of Dallas, and he was was a pro at 13 overseas for Real Madrid. Does the Mavs front office really think that a guy that's been playing pro since 13 can't take care of himself? All because of a couple McChickens. Listen, as a bigger guy myself, I'm not one to judge anybody, but Luka's run in the 2024 playoffs was elite. And now the Don, the boy from Slovenia, Luka Doncic is a LA Laker, and I don't have any doubt that LA is going to treat this guy good. He's a superstar, but it just comes down to saying this. The 5-time All-NBA player was given up on. Business is business until you screw over family. So from all Dallas fans, thank you, Luka Doncic.
When we return, Super Bowl 59 is this Sunday. We'll break down the big game in New Orleans with Ryan Hopper. Stay tuned. Welcome back to College Press Box. After a less than exciting Pro Bowl weekend, football fans around the globe are thrilled for what makes it be an action-packed Super Bowl weekend that features a Super Bowl 57 rematch between the Eagles and the Chiefs. For a preview of the big game, I'll send it over for the first time to Campbell.
Thanks, Max. I'm here with our NFL analyst today, Ryan Hopper. Ryan, how are you doing today? How are you feeling about this big game?
Well, I'm very excited for the big game. I'm doing well. Too bad my Commanders aren't playing in it, though. So close.
Too bad the Cowboys aren't playing in either. But let's start with Kansas City. What do they need to do to complete the first three-peat in the Super Bowl era? Get it?
Oh,
There we go,
very well done. Well, this is going to sound like a cookie-cutter answer, but it's going to come down to what a lot of games come down to. Can you run the ball, and can you stop the run? Saquon is he's the most complete player in this game. Jalen Hurts can squat 600 pounds. He's one of the strongest quarterbacks ever. But if the Chiefs can hold this duo under about 150 yards, they have a chance because unlike the Packers, the Rams, my Commanders, they have a secondary that can match up with Philly's receivers. Also, if they get the Eagles into longer third downs, their pass rushers like Karlaftis and Chris Jones have a much better opportunity to live in the Eagles' backfield. On the other side of the ball, if Kansas City is able to run it effectively and use screens as an extension of the running game, that can make third downs much more manageable, which is crucial because the Chiefs' weapons don't match up well against Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, Blankenship, and this Eagles secondary. Being able to run will also create opportunities over the middle for Travis Kelce on play-action passes, and if he has a monster game, Philly could be in for a long night.
Yeah, so big hopes, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, obviously. This is Philly's second time facing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl in 3 years. What do the Eagles need to do to bring the city of Philadelphia its first championship in 7 years?
Well, all 5 of their offensive linemen got Pro Bowl votes. Saquon's one of the best running backs we've ever seen. They're going to be able to run the ball some. The question is, it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. When they have to throw, can Jalen Hurts find one of his playmakers or scramble to get to the sticks himself? Sometimes he's able to, especially last week against the Commanders. It felt like no matter what the distance was, Philly could pick up a third down throwing the football. But in this game, A.J. Brown's going to be matched up against all-pro corner Trent McDuffie instead of Marshawn Lattimore with one working hamstring. Brown will get his, but Hurts will have to get the likes of Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert going. Defensively, the Eagles need to call up Todd Bowles and offer to pay him for his perfect game plan from Super Bowl 55, if that's allowed. The key to beating Mahomes in the playoffs is just like beating Brady in the playoffs. You got to get pressure with your 4-down linemen. If you blitz Mahomes, he knows exactly where to go, and he's going to put the football right there, and he's going to punish you. You need to make him uncomfortable while still having 6-7 guys in coverage, variety of looks, confuse him, get coverage sacks, force errant throws. That's exactly what the Bengals were able to do when they won and made it Burrowhead famously with Joe Burrow, and what the Giants did to Brady back in the day, back when the Giants were a legitimate organization. The entire game may come down to this Eagles defensive line, and I know veteran D coordinator Vic Fangio is in his office right now hoping Jalen Carter, Josh Sweat, and company can get Mahomes on the turf enough to win.
Like you said earlier, Jalen Hurts can squat 600 pounds, so how much more can he do? I think he can do this one. But so after this analysis, it's prediction time. Who's taking home the Lombardi Trophy?
You know, people aren't going to be thrilled with this. This isn't the gutsy pick. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. It's, to use what you said earlier, it really is the Chiefs era. You know, I get that the three-peat is unprecedented, but, you know, we're living in unprecedented times. There's a lot of haters out there who say the Chiefs are up to no good. The fix is in. That's ridiculous in the modern NFL. They wouldn't allow that. Sure, they've benefited from some late calls. They've benefited from mistakes by their opponents. But there's something to be said for the fact that they don't beat themselves. And that's what football is about sometimes. Like the Patriots dynasty, they benefit from having the best quarterback, the best coach, one of the best front offices, and one of the best defensive minds in Spags. It's not luck. It's not a conspiracy. It's an inevitable dynasty. Look for a late-game blunder from Hurts or Sirianni or an all-too-familiar game-winning drive from Mahomes to seal this one. To quote Nick Wright, it was never a doubt. I got the Chiefs in a one-possession game.
Got it. So on the record, you don't think the Chiefs are best friends with the refs?
No.
No?
I don't think so.
All right, well, thank you, Ryan. This past Sunday, Texas women's basketball took home the Cotton Holdings Lone Star Trophy. Stay right here. We'll break it down when you come back. Welcome back to College Press Box. Number 5, Texas women's basketball traveled to College Station to play their longtime rival for the first time since 2020. Let's take a look at Reed Arena. First quarter with just seconds left, Rory Harmon gets the jump shot to put Texas up by 10 going in second quarter. And look at the slow-mo, right, left. Aggies defender goes down, her ankles break. Madison Booker off the breakaway with the layup, put Texas up. Now, Harmon to Holly. Holly's going to miss this three, but there's Booker to put this one back up to put Texas at 40-23. Now next, offensive play. Booker goes for the three. She makes it to put Texas up by 20 in the third. Then finds her one more time, put Texas up again. Shea Holly also had a great game. She finished with 12 on the day. Here's a three, Texas up 54-36. Now, Rory Harmon, big play of the game. She gets through the defenders, puts that one in, and gets the and one. And you guessed it, she's going to make that layup. Texas up 59-46. They won 70-50, their 6th straight win in conference play. To discuss the scorching run in the past few weeks, let's swing it to Max.
Thanks, Campbell. I'm here with Kendell Ungar. Welcome back to Press Box, Kendell. How are you doing?
Good. It's good to be back and talk about our ranked Longhorns this week.
So the Longhorns were victorious against A&M on Sunday. What were the keys to success in that game?
Yes, well, victorious they were in bringing home the Lone Star Showdown trophy, and their win secured them the number 4 ranked spot in this week's AP poll. The 70-50 win marked the Longhorns' 7th road game win of the season, and their SEC record moves to 8-1 in the conference. Key players of the game included sophomore Madison Booker, senior Rory Harmon, and senior Shea Holly. Booker was the Longhorns' lead scorer with 17 points. This was her 4th double-double of the season. She also led the team with a career high of 13 rebounds. Harmon scored 15 points on the day, coming right behind Booker in scoring, and Holly reached double digits for the 6th game this season in scoring 12. 8 of her points came during the final period to give Texas momentum to finish the game out strong. All 3 of these players tied for 5 assists each during the game, and this was the Longhorns' 8th game this season, recording 20-plus rebounds in a single game. Overall, Texas kept turnovers to a minimum, with 7, this was tied for their season low. The third quarter was the only time the Aggies outscored the Longhorns, and Texas maintained their lead throughout. Texas defense stopped A&M all day in limiting their shots to a 35% success rate. Texas improved to 22-2 on the season, and with 2 ranked opponents to play this week, Texas securing the rival win puts them at a good spot.
Yeah, as long as you can keep getting players in double-digit scoring, you're going to win games.
Sure.
Since the loss to South Carolina, the Horns are on a 6-game win streak. What would you say has contributed to getting the team back on track here?
Well, I think for starters, Texas did not look like the team we've all seen in losing to South Carolina a few weeks ago. Booker was stopped all day by the defense and only recorded 7 points. I'll get more into this loss during my next question, but after this loss, Texas dominated against Auburn and Maryland. I look back at the Tennessee win being a key turning point for Texas, so I wanted to come on and talk about this game specifically for this question. They held on late into the last period for the 80-76 final score. This was a momentum win for Texas to hold on and finish the game out strong, with Booker making the go-ahead basket and Harmon securing the win with her 2 made free throws in the final 3 seconds of play. I think sometimes that has put the team back. I think something that has put the team back on track is multiple players stepping up and contributing for the team. Against Tennessee alone, Madison Booker recorded 26 points and Taylor Jones came right behind her with 21 points. Another key factor to this win was defense taking away key opportunities from Tennessee by causing turnovers and being aggressive on the glass. After beating Tennessee, Texas won against Ole Miss, Missouri, and A&M to support them bouncing back. With 2 big games coming up this week, the Longhorns have the opportunity to showcase that they are indeed back on track and will further their winning game streak.
Certainly, the team's been hitting on all cylinders, and it's really encouraging to see as conference play starts to take off this month. With the big rematch against South Carolina coming up after this Thursday's game against Vanderbilt, how do you see these games playing out for Texas?
Well, facing 24th-ranked Vanderbilt on Thursday in a rematch against second-ranked South Carolina will definitely be a test of how Texas has improved since the loss. Notre Dame early on in the season and South Carolina are the only 2 opponents that Texas records losses from on the season, where they are ranked 4th in the AP poll, right behind UCLA, South Carolina, and Notre Dame. Looking ahead to the Vanderbilt matchup, I think Texas will be just fine. The Commodores are ranked 6th in the conference with a 5-4 SEC record. 2 of the losses alone were from Ole Miss, who Texas has beat before in the season. Texas's defense will be the key to securing this win. They will have to stop Vanderbilt freshman Michaela Guards, who leads the team in points with an average of 22.1 points per game, where Madison Booker leads Texas with an average of 16.2 points. If Texas can outscore and out-rebound Vanderbilt like they've been doing against other opponents, this will be a good win for them. This weekend's game against South Carolina will be a much tougher battle for Texas. I think if the Longhorns come in fresh after a ranked win against Vanderbilt and put the past loss against the Gamecocks behind them, they can redeem themselves by bringing home the win. This will be a high-profile game, and Texas has the home court advantage this time around. The main focus of the game should not just fall on Booker making her shots after going 3 for 19 last time these 2 teams met. Yes, she has been lead scorer for the Longhorns, but Texas needs other contributors. On the team to step up, Rory Harmon went 4 for 11 on the day, and overall the Texas team went 27.8% on shot completions. This is not the standard for Texas, and they need to prove this on Sunday. If Texas defense holds South Carolina to fewer key possessions and have multiple players step up and shoot the ball well, there is no reason why Texas can't beat this team. The Longhorns are on a winning streak right now, and they do not want the Gamecocks to break it a second time this season.
Certainly, if they play the brand of basketball they've been playing recently, it's hard to beat them. Thank you for joining us, Kendell. Let's go back to Campbell at the desk.
Thank you, Max and Kendall. When we return on College Press Box, Texas men's basketball had some good and bad from the recent road trip. We'll take a look and see where Texas stands after a dominant win. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to College Press Box. Texas men's basketball will lose a heartbreaker in Oxford, facing off against their former head coach, Chris Beard. However, Rodney Terry's squad would bounce back in dominant fashion to close out their brief road trip in Baton Rouge. Let's take a look. Starting early, Texas up 6, Kent gets a breakaway steal and a dunk to go up 8. Later on, Mark finds Johnson in the corner on an awkward pass, but Johnson gathers himself and hits the corner 3. LSU now threatening as they've cut the lead down to 3, but Shedrick is found for a wide open 3. Texas up 6. Second half, Johnson finds Kaluma in transition for a tough contested layup. Basket goes in. Moments later, Tremont Mark, Garden, says, "Give me them cookies." They throw the ball down the court to him. He gets a wide open dunk. Texas up 12. Later, Trey Johnson, textbook bounce pass in between two defenders, goes up for the basket. It's good. Later, back, passes it back out to him. NBA range, why not? Trey Johnson gets a screen from his big man, calls his own number, dribbles to the other elbow, floater high off the glass for the bucket. Texas leads it up to 21. Later, for the finishing touch, Jones would find Shedrick for a dunk. Texas moves to 15-7, 4-5 in conference play, and they get ready for a big home opener or home game against Arkansas. What a performance for Texas. With a special guest, let's go back to Campbell.
Thanks, Max. I'm here with Nolan Clay to break down Texas's victory. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. You know, it was a really fun game to watch for Texas this weekend, and I'm excited to analyze it.
Definitely a much-needed win. Starting off with a midweek matchup, Texas went on the road and took a ranked Ole Miss squad down to the wire. However, they just fell short. What do you think Texas was able to not do to close this game out?
Yeah, in all honesty, Campbell, it was really the same story it's been all season for the Longhorns. Inconsistency on the offensive side of the ball. After a flying start, taking a commanding 32-19 lead, we saw the Horns go back to the same habits. Too often this team goes on scoring droughts where the ball gets stuck, players stand still, and eventually that leads to lackluster shot attempts. This team has way too much talent on that side of the ball to be doing that. For the first time in what seems like forever, Texas has a squad that can shoot the rock with the best of them. As a team, the Longhorns are shooting 37% from beyond the arc and 48% from the field this season. You've got to take advantage of that if you're Rodney Terry. Use some off-ball actions, get some guys cutting to the basket, set some flare screens, get your guys some looks. And I think Rodney Terry does deserve a bit of credit because he drew up a great play to get Trey Johnson a great look to tie up the game, but it didn't go. We know what this team is capable of doing on the offensive side of the ball. We saw this against A&M in the second half, and we saw this again on Saturday against LSU, and it's just disappointing how little we're able to see this offense reach its full potential.
Yeah, you brought up the LSU game. How do you think Texas was able to regroup after the loss at Ole Miss to dominate LSU in the Swamp?
Yeah, Texas has been so impressive on the defensive side of the ball since the start of SEC play, and it was no different here as they absolutely stifled LSU all night. It felt like every shot the Tigers took was just contested, and they just couldn't get any rhythm going at all. On the offensive side of the ball, it was a tale of two halves. In the first half, Texas struggled again in scoring 31 points on 41% shooting from the field. However, in the second half, the Texas offense exploded. We started to see the Longhorns push the ball in transition, drive to the basket, make hard cuts to the rim, and create open shots with their shooters for the shooters to knock down. It was basically the opposite of what we saw in the first half. In total, Texas scored 58 points in the second half, shooting nearly 70% from the field and 55% from three. Another thing that was super encouraging for the Horns was the performance from forward Caden Shedrick. All season long, Texas has lacked good big man play on both sides of the ball, but it seems like Caden Shedrick could be turning a corner. In the last 4 games, Shedrick has scored 43 points combined, also providing good rim protection on the other side of the court. As easy as it is to get excited about this performance, though, we must remember that LSU has the second worst record in conference play. So while these are very exciting developments for the Horns, we have to see more of it before we can really get the hype train going.
It seems like a much-needed confidence boost, though, even though the record wasn't all that good. In Joe Lunardi's latest bracketology, Texas is listed in the last 4 buys category. Looking at the remainder of the Longhorns' schedule, do you believe the Longhorns will find themselves in the big dance this year?
Well, you know, if you asked me this 3 weeks ago, I would have told you there's no chance. But in the past 4 weeks, the Texas has picked up 4 quad 1 wins, and that has bolstered their resume so much. I look at the rest of the Longhorns schedule, and I see a tough 3-game stretch coming up where the Longhorns play at Vanderbilt and then have 2 home games versus top 15 squads in Alabama and Kentucky. After that, there's only one more team currently in the top 25 on the rest of Texas' regular season schedule. If Texas can win 1 or possibly even 2 of these games from that 3-game stretch, I think they'd be extremely well positioned to finish off SEC play and find themselves comfortably in the field. However, that's easier said than done. On paper, the rest of the schedule might not seem very tough, but there really isn't an easy game in this conference, especially going on the road. Another thing that could have a massive impact on Texas' tournament hopes is the SEC tournament. If Texas does have a lackluster end to the regular season, they can right all those wrongs by winning a couple games in Nashville. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that the Horns have so many more opportunities to strengthen their resume, which is why I think come Selection Sunday, the Longhorns will be dancing.
4-2 is Texas in their last 6 contests, with all 4 being quad 1 wins. Nolan, thank you for your analysis. Back to you, Max.
Thank you, Campbell and Nolan, for that input. We'll take a look at this past week in Longhorn sports and look ahead at what's to come. Welcome back to College Press Box. Let's take a look at this past week in Longhorn sports. The 11th ranked women's tennis team hosted number 19 NC State at the Weller Indoor Tennis Center last Friday, taking down the Wolfpack 4-3. In similar fashion to last week's victory against Baylor, the Longhorns clinched their victory after a third set tiebreaker in the final singles match. Claiming victory in this final singles match was junior Vivian Ovrutsky, who secured the frame 7-4.
Number 5, men's golf team title at the Southwestern Invitational Tournament. They took the title. The Longhorns carded a 6 under par 278 last Wednesday, rallying in the final few holes for a one-shot victory over San Diego State. Freshman Daniel Bennett posted a 4 under 67 in the final round to tie for second place in the individual standings. His 54-hole score was 4 under 209.
Dishwalk Field was packed this Saturday as over 150 Longhorn baseball alumni and fans returned to the 40 acres to watch the annual alumni game. In a matchup that included notable big leaguers like Cody Clemens, Trey Barrera, and John Curtis, the number 19 Texas Longhorns would prevail to beat the team of old-timers and young pro talent 6-3 in a contest where true freshmen Cole Chamberlain and Adrian Rodriguez both went yard. The Longhorns now turn their focus to the season opener against Louisville on February 14th at Globe Life Field, where the Jim/Nagel era will officially begin. Now, let's take a look at this week in Longhorn sports.
On Wednesday, men's basketball versus Arkansas. Tip-off is at 8 p.m. on ESPN2. Then Thursday, women's basketball versus Vanderbilt, also at 8 p.m. on SEC Network. Then this Saturday, the 8th, men's basketball at Vanderbilt, 12 p.m. on the SEC Network. And then women's basketball hosts the reigning national champions South Carolina at 1 p.m. That game will be on ESPN. And that will conclude this week's edition of College Press Box. Please make sure to tune into our other sports shows this week, including College Crossfire Wednesdays airing at 9 p.m. and the Want to Know sports shows on Fridays now at 11 a.m. Also, we'll invite you to follow our coverage on Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube at the handle TSTV Sports. Thank you to our analysts, everyone in Master Control, our executive producer Joseph Duffy, and all of our reporters in TSTV. I'm Campbell Choate, he's Max Dagley. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.